You know, days like today are just what makes my profession so much fun. Last day for test match, it's gone 5 days, long, tiring, almost exhausting days. You can probably see it in my eyes as I record this. But at the end of it all, a deep sense of satisfaction. As a cricket lover, you've seen something very, very special. That is what happened here in Birmingham. In many ways, it was like the breaching of Brisbane, the breaching of Birmingham. That was probably a little more dramatic, a lot more difficult, but look at the similarities too. Key players missing, a calm, understated captain, the rest of the players rising up as if to say, look, we are here too, getting buoyed up, not weighed under. The team is not looking at what they don't have. And the cumulative, the whole, the sum of the parts was fantastic to see. It was one of the better test matches you will see simply because of all that happened there. My friend Vivek Razdan, who's so eloquent, would say in the manner in which he said, Toota hai gaba ka ghamand, he might well say, Nakam raha Edgbaston ka irada. But no more will you come to Edgbaston and say, this is a ground that India doesn't win at. It was a fantastic performance. No Bumrah, no Kuldeep, question marks over the leadership, all the talk about Gambhir, before that no Rohit, no Virat, and over this week, even more so than at Leeds, a young man just rose and rose and rose. As a player, as a captain, Shubman Gill has taken his game to a different level. We've been talking about his batting, about the decisiveness of his footwork, about his great understanding of the situation, his just as extraordinary skill, his talent, but I was taken in by his calmness, both with bat in hand and in the field. And I think this calmness of Shubman Gill will eventually be the making of him. 430 runs in a test match. You know, after a while you get tired. After a while the resolve weakens. After a while your mind just wavers a little bit. None of that happened for Shubman Gill, except I think once, right at the end of that second innings marathon, when I thought he played a tired shot. But before that, his mind, he was just so focused on what exactly they needed to do. Remember, he said at the start of the series, yes, I want to win the series, but I also want to lead from the front and be the person who scores the most runs. He's well on the way to that. There have been many players who didn't score 500 runs in a series. He's made 585 in 2 test matches. And the English, oh, they couldn't out Gill at all, just to paraphrase an old calypso about Gavaskar. It wasn't only about Gill, though. He made it happen. He was the lead player, but it was about so many others. It was about Siraj, about Akash Deep, about Jadeja, about Jaiswal, about KL Rahul, at moments about Washington Sundar, about Rishabh Pant. That is what you want to see in a side, and that is why it was so satisfying to see this. Once again, it was the bowlers, the much maligned bowlers. I have a lot of time for Mohammad Siraj. I've always had, not just for the lion-hearted bowler that he is. His 6 wickets in the first innings was a sensational effort. And that is what brought India back into the game after Akash Deep had created the early breakthroughs. I saw Akash Deep in Australia and I thought, wow, there's something about him. Then he broke down. He was injured. He's never going to be enjoy himself that much in T20 cricket. He's a good old-fashioned bowler. Swings the ball out, brings it back in, bowls a great length, has a big heart, bowls long spells, and I've just enjoyed watching him play. Very emotional interview with Cheteshwar Pujara at the end. He's seen so much tragedy, so much hardship, comes from Sasaram in Bihar. There's no great culture of producing cricketers there. And then he rises and rises in a sense to this level where he produces a match-winning performance. 2 balls that he bowled. One, in fact, 3 balls. One in each innings to Harry Brook, was a very fine player, but the ball that he bowled to Joe Root, with the angle coming, he's gone wide of the crease, with the angle coming in and straightening. KL Rahul might say, I got one of those too when I faced Josh Tongue. But this was Joe Root, prime of his career, extraordinary bowling. I liked Siraj's attitude towards him as well. Like a brother almost. He said if he had got 5 wickets, I would have given him the ball to lead the side back in because I've got 5, he hasn't. I saw them so happy together. That's what I like about this team. This seems a happy team, irrespective of where the series goes from here. They bowled the new ball far better than England did, and I have a theory for that. They bowled it better because they're used to playing on flat pitches where they have to make things happen. And that's what Akashdeep said afterwards. ऐसी pitches पे तो हम खेलते रहते हैं. तो हमको पता है कि ऐसे pitches पे bowling कैसे करते हैं. They don't get tired. I think they were fitter too than some of the English bowlers who, as Michael Vaughan famously says, are happy to talk about rest and tiredness. But that's the subject of another vlog. I thought Jadeja had a very good match with bat. I know that I found his batting in parts inexplicable in the second innings, but I could understand the reason for it, that India were looking to score so many runs that England would not think of chasing it down, and yet by nature they must, and they threw them a challenge saying, let's see how good your defensive game is. It wasn't good enough. And Jadeja had a role to play in that. Remember, 210 for 5 at one point, India, and then they went on to make that huge score with that Gill-Jadeja partnership. I thought he bowled pretty well in the second innings. I actually thought Prasidh Krishna started to bowl better as the game went along, and that augurs well for India. Should there be injury, should there be need to pull him back, he's already experienced 2 test matches. I thought he bowled much better here in the second innings too. Then there was Rishabh Pant. Rishabh Pant, on that 4th day, played the innings that allowed India the additional time. I know you might say that the other batters used up that time, that India batted too long, but that innings from Rishabh Pant, India just 300 ahead when he comes in. There's 3 batting all-rounders to follow. He comes in and takes the game away with that swashbuckling partnership of 65. He's a very, very big part of the team. He's part of the leadership of the team. He's constantly talking to Shubman Gill about making the changes. I know there's been a lot said about Gautam Gambhir, and I know that at the back of a lot of disappointing performances, this is one test win. But in all the years that I've known Gautam Gambhir, one fact has stood out. And that is, he's a team player at the very core of his existence. And I'm sure he would be talking to his younger players about being team players, about chipping in with a little performance here, a little performance there. To some he can be aggressive, to some he can be prickly. He wears his heart on his sleeve, his emotions are there to be seen. But at heart, he's a team player. And I'd urge all of you to start looking at Gautam from that point of view. The results eventually are judged by the results, but there's something about him. As I said, it was long, it was tiring. A tour of England challenges you in many ways, in the kind of rooms, in the kind of hotels, but you've got to put all that aside and say, why have I come here? I've come here to see great cricket, and I saw fantastic cricket in Birmingham, and I cannot wait now to go to Lord's with the series 1-1. Bumrah rested, Bumrah back, in partnership with Akashdeep, Siraj bowling behind them with the older ball, and a batting side that has made 1,800 runs almost in this series. I cannot wait for Lord's.
So thank you for watching, and do subscribe to this channel.